Hi, folks. We are live and it's Tuesday evening. We're coming to you 2 hours late from a different kind of better. I am so excited to be coming on live here tonight and having my very special friend Kimberly with me tonight. Kimberly Devputhra, who lives in Seattle. So isn't this wonderful? Technology allows us to talk with people this far away and on a global front. So I'm sure those of you who have come in to watch A Different Kind of Better, our lives on Tuesday, and know that you're in for some great education tonight. But as usual, I do want to read our disclaimer just to get us started, and that will also give us time for some people to come in that are maybe running a minute or two late. So please bear with me while I do this. This presentation may contain general information about various medical conditions and their treatment. Such information is provided for informational purposes only and is not meant to be a substitute for advice provided by your physician or other qualified healthcare professionals. The information contained herein should not be used to diagnose a health problem or a disease. You should always consult with your physician for medical advice, diagnosis, and treatment before beginning any type of natural, integrative, or conventional treatment regime. And as usual, we always advise that you seek a licensed healthcare professional. Keep yourself safe. That's the main thing, right? These are our own personal opinions that we're going to view tonight. It's up to you what you do with them. So tonight we're talking about intuition. Wow, I love this topic, and actually Kimberly has helped me with it to guide me into knowing which direction to go. So I think I'm going to start tonight with my own little bit of health story, because not everybody that's listening in tonight knows me. So my name is Lynn, and I run a wellness clinic. I've worked in the natural healthcare field for about 20 plus years and love every minute of it. And I can tell you that how did I end up? I'm just turning my phone off because it's the one thing I forgot. Lives are great. So I apologize for that. One thing I can tell you is that I am where I am today because of my own health journey. And my own health journey started with something so simple, like a simple food poisoning that turned into chronic disease. And I went down a very slippery slope for about 2 years. I was critically ill. I lost 53 pounds in weight. I really believed I wasn't going to make it. What came out of that was that I saw every kind of physician, every kind of naturopath, every kind of specialist that you can possibly imagine. I had tubes down my nose, tubes down my throat. I was in critical care 3 or 4 times during that 2-year journey. My physician will verify that for you. And what ended up happening was I realized I started using my intuition. And my intuition was telling me, you know, you're not going to make it. If you just rely on one source of medicine, you may not make it. And so what do? I'd already been to a couple of natural healthcare practitioners, and I'm not putting them down. They were very, very good, and they helped me a bit. But we have to understand that when we're sick, we need to find and search, and we need to start listening to this up here, right? And a year into my illness, I had started saying to myself, no one cares about me more than me. No one cares whether I survive for my baby, because I'd had a baby that year earlier, whether I'm going to be around for that baby more than me, right? And so part of me was saying, I need to learn about how to heal myself. I need to learn. There's more than just taking a medication. I need to look at this deeper. I need to look at this at a cellular level. But for 1 year, I ignored that, right? So in my mind, when I look back over time now, I'm saying to myself, what on earth was I thinking? Why wasn't I listening to my own intuition, who was telling me you need more than this? So my intuition was telling me I needed to go back to school to save myself. Now, that was my journey. That's what I did. I went back to school and studied natural therapies, specifically preventative healthcare, because I figured if I learned how to prevent illness, I would be, if I survived this, I would be able to stop anything else coming in the future that I may be exposed to. And we all do different things, right? We all have a reason. And I know that this illness put me where I am today so that I can help other people where Western medicine doesn't always work. It's a great science. I love Western medicine. I advocate a lot. I believe in integrative medicine. That's my big passion. But I want you to understand that there's a time that we really, really need to use our intuition. So tonight we want to talk about what is intuition, right, Kim? Like, we need to learn, what is it? How do we recognize when we should be listening to it, right? When do we decide, or when is that tipping point, that turning point where we say to ourselves, you know, something's not quite right here, right? Intuition, as I said in the event that we created here, is something that where you walk into a room and you go, oh, this, you know, I remember looking at a house once and walking in and saying, this doesn't feel right. Something nasty happened here. And I looked at my husband and said, I don't want to look at this house. I can't live here. Something just doesn't feel right here. And we walked outside and my husband was apologizing to the real estate agent saying, I'm sorry, she gets like this once in a while. And he looked at me and he said, I get it, but you know what? Your wife may be right, because the person that lived here before just died from cancer, and it was a long, drawn out death. So we have to listen to that. Now, would it affect some people? No, but for me, that energy wasn't good for me, and I listened to my intuition. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. So Kimberly, what do you have to tell us about intuition? Because this is your area of expertise. So I'll let Kim tell you a little bit about herself. She's amazing.
So I think, you know, intuition is one of those huge questions, right? So when we talk about intuition, we're going to talk about it's our way of our body talking to us, right? So when I say that some people talk, like some people can hear that more than others, it's simply turning up the volume, guys. So turning up the volume, meaning, you know what, I want to tune into myself a little bit more, my knowingness, my sensing. And I think that's kind of how we start out our intuition. A lot of us, you know, we're born with intuition. We're born with a sense of knowing. We know whether we're in good hands or bad hands. We know whether we have a roof over our head or food. We know the demands of the world, right? So, you know, we kind of start our intuition, meaning you have to dive deep enough to listen to those inner warnings, right? So with me, I love Lynn's story because it's so passionate as far as the signs that she went down to say, you know what, now's the time. Now I need to, you know, fix this. I need to go and get another opinion. I think a lot of us, we don't tend to listen to it because we're afraid of our answers. We're afraid of going to that doctor and them saying, you're not in good hands, like this and this and this is wrong. And so we tend to push down those signs of warning. For me, myself, as I went through my spiritual journey, I had those signs come up. For me, doing things like my readings, doing more readings that were more in depth, suicides or murder cases or missing people, those were all a lot on my system, right? So my system was saying, whoa, wait a minute, let's fix this. Let's get you realigned. For me, at the moment, I didn't know how to fix it. And that's the true question is, how do we fix it? And I think it's about listening. When you grieve or you go through any type of trauma, grieving is a good one because a lot of us have went through it. But when you grieve, you can see your tears. You can feel the anger or the upset that you feel with not knowing where this person went. Are they okay? Have they done everything right? You go with this whole mind of all these things in your mind, and we don't check in with our bodies. See, our bodies are behind the scene, and we don't necessarily, we see what's in front. We don't see what our body's doing behind. And I think that's the warning there is our bodies with stress. We may be able to say, okay, we're going to go for a walk, but what's our body doing internally? What's our body saying? Okay, this is a red flag. This is a red flag. And all the warnings are going off in our machine, right? And it's our opinion it's our responsibility actually to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to look at these signs, I'm going to feel them, and then I'm going to address them. So listening to that sixth sense, something's wrong, I don't feel right, I'm a little more fatigued than normal, I'm very irritable compared to normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot believe, sometimes we settle,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're raised to believe that we should look after our healthcare a certain way, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of faith and we have a lot of belief in these systems. And you're looking at somebody who worked in that Western medicine system for
Mm-hmm.
years and then it's on the other side of the table. Man, I'll tell you, when you've had a critical illness and then all of a sudden you're on the other side of the table, you learn what it's like to be on the other side of the table. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to say, well, we learn a lot of things in school. There's book knowledge is a great thing, right? And, to have a diploma on your wall is a great thing. It proves that you have training in that area. But the best training that you can get is actually sitting in front of people, right? And listening to them and helping them on that journey. But every once in a while, it doesn't matter what kind of practitioner you're with, you may reach a stale point. Like you may reach the point where this isn't working for me. There's nothing wrong with you using your intuition to say, no, I need to find something else for me. This one particular thing is not working for me. And, it doesn't matter what science it is, right? What science you're choosing. I think the most important thing is that you don't just quit. You don't not listen to that voice and just say, well, he's told me there's nothing else they can do for me. Right? Hope is a very important thing when you're, when you think or believe or know that you're facing death, right? Or the end stages of life, or that may be an infinite possibility, right? Do we just accept that? Or, at what point do we allow ourselves to just be? Right. But I think in certain times in our life, we do need to say something's telling me that he's not or she is not right here. Just because I don't have a label per se doesn't mean that there isn't something wrong, because I remember a lot of the times me going into offices telling them the story and the experience, and they would say, well, I remember one doc saying it's psychosomatic. Well, you know what, the pain was real, the attacks were real, to me. So, and maybe a portion of it was, but you have to look at the root cause of why these things are happening, right? And what can we do? And it's always wise, I think, when we're talking about intuition, to say, okay, well, what is my body telling me? I think, some of us say we're more intuitive than others. Maybe you agree with this, Kimberly. And I think some of us maybe, but I think it's a learning process of saying, I've had those little signs or warnings, and I didn't listen to them. Right. And it could be anything. It could be about a job. You go for an interview and you come out and you go, oh, I really need the job and I need the paycheck, but something's telling me here, I'm not going to enjoy this. This is, this probably isn't right for me, but we do it anyway. And then we get ourselves into a situation where, oh boy, I wish I'd listened to that. I wish I'd waited for that right place for me. Right. And hindsight is a great thing, but I think we all have some amazing skills that we just don't tap into them a lot of the time.
Right. Especially, I think that the most common that we tend to ignore in society are people. So we tend to ignore the fact that people give off vibes, guys. People give off energy. So when somebody gives off energy, does that necessarily mean they're bad to be around? No, but it does mean that if something's telling you that maybe I shouldn't necessarily sign up with them today, maybe I should wait a little bit, maybe I should do that business venture in a little bit longer when I feel more confident. So being able to recognize that sign for what it is, being able to listen to ourselves, because I know it's very discouraging, me myself also going through the health field and going through different opinions and not wondering if this one is more important, or is this person on track more than this one. Like, it was a huge merry-go-round, right? So I think the biggest thing to listen to is you got to listen to your signs, your body. You're the one that knows your body the best. So when things are out of alignment, you know that. But we as a society, we push those symptoms down. If we get a headache, well, we didn't sleep right. If we have body aches, it's because we got up wrong. We tend to put these daily things on us as a whole. And sometimes that's our body's way of saying, nope, your joints hurt because maybe you've got a little bit of arthritis creeping in. Maybe you're fatigued because you're not sleeping well because you have a little bit of insomnia. So these could go these could go if you go a little bit deeper and dive deeper into these could actually be things that could be more traumatic later on, or they could be things that maybe we could just say, okay, we got it, we nailed it, and we fixed it before it became anything big. So it's about, it never hurts to get too much answers, right? Like we can't have too much information on anything. So I think it's always important that if something tells you that you're off, if something tells you you're irritable or you're reacting differently than you normally do, maybe we need to get in and look at hormones, or maybe we need to look in and look at your body, because I will be the first one to say I'm a huge advocate of body, mind, and soul. Okay. So body doesn't work without the mind being in tune, and the mind doesn't work unless your soul's in tune. So you have to do your whole checkup when you take your cars in, right, to the mechanic. We're not going to tell them, just check the tire. Don't worry about all the, tops off on oils and fluids, don't need any of that. So I like to compare people to a car. If we're going to drive our car every day and we're going to drive it through traffic and rain and weather, then we need to make sure it's up and in running condition for what comes its way. So if we have a dirty windshield, we don't see clearly, right? So we need to make sure that we run our car as if it can handle any accident that comes its way, right? Being prepared for anything, knowing that, okay, I can survive out of this. So I think just doing your tune-up, guys, doing the checks, going and getting massages sometimes to kind of keep that stress at bay, listening to your body when you feel a little bit more fatigued and irritable is a huge, huge must.
Mm-hmm. It's one area that I did kind of want to mention tonight is protect yourself, right? Because it's true, like we have a lot of things that we know what's causing it, right? When in my case, like food poisoning was the initial precursor. However, was it really the initial precursor? Was it that I had allowed myself to get to a point health-wise that I wasn't able to handle that? Because a lot of people got it. A lot of people got that same food poisoning and they recovered. I did not. So we have to be in tune with realizing that we need to protect ourselves. And when you say body, mind, and soul, I 100% agree with that. I mean, our program in our clinic, for example, has, basically a program that says we have to look at the influences, the psychological aspect, then do a needs assessment, and the social aspects, because we know that if there's problems in those areas, it leads to what we believe are blockages, right? So we can, in our practice, we believe that we can do all these wonderful things that work at a cellular level, for example. But if we have somebody that, has an issue in other areas, such as, and I'm not talking about being mentally ill, I'm talking about emotional disturbances, crises, stresses, things that are going on in their life that are creating imbalances in them, that will create blockages and make our job a lot more difficult. So we can't just say, okay, we have this symptomatology, these symptoms, and we're just going to deal with these symptoms. We need to look at the person as a whole picture. Right. And believe it or not, when we're doing that, we are using our intuition a lot. I think it's changed the scope of how I work with people in knowing that I need to use that intuitive focus. Like you can be trained to deal with a certain thing in a certain way, right? But sometimes you can look at that and go, okay, well, I'm doing what I've been trained to do. And they're doing it. That person or that client is doing those things. However, they're not getting better like I would like them to be getting better. So there's another cause for that. We have to
Right.
look at different areas. And so I found even recently, as you are well aware of, that sometimes we have to go outside of that box, right? And look at alternative modalities or different types of therapies to see if we can turn that around. So,
Right.
so it's important in every aspect of your life, whether it be in relationship, marriages, business partnerships. We need to use our intuition. If something is not feeling right, the detrimental effects of not listening to that is not worth you not listening to it.
Right.
Right. Because that bad energy or that knowing that you should be doing something that you're not doing, which leads to guilt, which then leads to anger sometimes, which leads to frustration, those can create horrible imbalances in your system.
Right. Even fear. So fear is a huge one. So somebody who operates off of a fear mindset, what do, guys? We tend to attract anxiety. We attract, okay, I'm going to get sick. Okay, something's going to happen if I don't do this and this and this. Am I going to catch, Pacific germ? So sometimes our body reacts in this response, and we don't necessarily see that for what it is, but our body behind the scenes is in full on panic mode. And so being aware of when your body feels, okay, I'm very nervous, I'm going to catch this. Okay, if I don't do this and don't do that, my whole household's going to get sick. Now, guys, that means that's not just being cautious. That means you've actually let fear creep in. And you've opened the door to fear, and that's not a good mindset. So being able to calm down that mindset and listening to the intuition of saying, okay, I'm all of a sudden acting this way. Okay, I don't normally overreact. I don't normally buy into fear. And knowing that, okay, maybe now's the time that I need to get that extra little checkup. Maybe now's the time I need to see what's going on with my stress. Because when we operate out of fear, we're creating stress, right? And our body behind the scenes is going through stress to have that response as fear. And so we need to be in touch with that as far as saying, okay, that's not normal. I'm going to get this checked out. So when there's a big thing going on in your life, there's a trauma or a big incident of some sort, getting yourself that extra help and just getting a little bit of a checkup to make sure everything's working good is in your best interest. Listening to yourself and knowing what you normally go through, like how do you normally adapt to things? Are you an adapter? Are you somebody who doesn't like to get out of your routine? Are you somebody who, when somebody takes you and picks you up and puts you somewhere, are you going to be able to figure it out? So like a lot of times, even as a collective energy right now, a lot of people are trying to find out their routine. They're trying to find out the new way of being, right? Because we pretty much kind of as a society been picked up and put down somewhere else, right? Yeah. And so, being able to say, what can I do to keep myself aligned? Do I need to go into the doctor? Do I need to add more vitamin C to make sure my immune response is better? To make sure that I'm under good response when stress comes my way? Adding simple little things like that to your daily regimen and asking your doctor, what can I do because it's so cloudy outside, it's so doomy and rainy? Instead of letting that depression sink in, we can add things in like, a bright light. Like one of the lights that, you can turn on and it gives you the brightness of a full day. You can add things like vitamin C. You can do things to your regimen and get those things ahead of time before you creep in and get depression, right? And then before you know it, the whole winter went through and you haven't done nothing. And you're wondering what's going on. And then what happens is you get, put on medication because you have to get treated now for full-on depression. So those are things that we can avoid, listening to our body and what our body's trying to tell us.
Yeah, because when you look at intuition, it's a form of intelligence, right? So, and studies have actually shown that when you're using intuition, the prefrontal cortex of your brain actually lights up. So it makes sense then, why aren't we listening to it? Yep. It is a warning system, right? It's a trigger for you to say, I need to really think about this. I need to take some time and really think about it. We're amazing. Some people don't like it when I say this, our body is an amazing piece of machinery. It's designed in a specific way, and it's designed so that we can heal ourselves. But we also need to listen. Even as a practitioner, we need to listen to the client, because no one knows you better than you. You know what you used to feel like, right? You know how you feel now. Never accept, well, we can't find it, so therefore there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, we know our norm. So
That's
when we're not doing our norm, something's up. And I think that's the best way to say, too bad we didn't come with an alarm system. And so when things happen and things come in our way, it triggers, and we're just beep, 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 beep. And we have these alarms going off all day. Could you imagine the beeping we would hear? But it would just be so interesting, because sometimes I feel like that's what we need. Sometimes we need that beep, 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 you know, like that echoing to get us to listen. And that's our intuition. So sometimes a lot of people don't realize, but that intuition, if you have an idea and then you put it away, and then boom, here comes the idea again. And then here it comes again. That's your intuition saying, hello, I'm trying to talk to you and you're not listening. And then what happens? Our system crashes. So it's not that we're not getting warning. We're getting so much warning that we're getting pre-warning to our pre-warning, right? So like, you know, there's no excuse here to not listen to our intuition. Our intuition is our best. Now, sometimes I can honestly say we put up an intuition as far as if you are in a different mindset, and if you are in a fear mindset or ego mindset, our intuition will be inaccurate, guys. So you always want to make sure that when you're operating your intuition, when you're checking in with yourself, you're checking in with your whole being in good alignment. Because what's going to happen if we go out and we hurt somebody? Okay, we hurt somebody's feelings, for example. This person's very upset. Our intuition says they deserved it. You know, you should tell them that they shouldn't have done that to you. Right? Now, that's not good intuition.
No.
That's our ego intuition coming forward saying, you know, this is how you do, you react. If somebody hurts you, you react back. But that's not the condition that we want to operate off of. That's why it's really important to do the mind, body, and spirit, because when we're aligned with body, mind, and spirit, our choices are good and our decisions are good. And we're all in alignment when our body talks to us and tells us something's up, right? So that's the best way to say, okay, this is how I take a check. This is what I do. And this is how I listen to myself. We never want to go with a different mindset, like an ego mindset. We're never going to make the right decision. The ego mindset also tells you, you're fine. You grabbed your chest a couple of times. You remember that time where you had that really hard pain in your chest, and you grabbed it and you caught your breath. You said, oh my gosh, something's wrong. Something doesn't feel right. Boom, the feeling's gone. Oh, I'm fine. Nothing. That was nothing. That was no big deal. I must have pinched a nerve. That's our intuition saying, wait, you know, something's there. You caught it. Your intuition got your notice. But what do? We push it back down because it wasn't severe enough. It wasn't one of those incidences where it took our life or almost took our life. We were able to recoup too fast. And I think we do that too as a society. If we get a bad, severe migraine, we take migraine medication, boom, it's gone. We recoup and we're good to go. And sometimes you got to ask yourself, why am I getting the migraine? What's going on that's causing me the migraine? Instead of just curing it, what's going on with the migraine? And I think that's what's important that we need to do as a society. We need to listen to why we're getting symptom after symptom and stop being so quick to just say, I'm going to reach my aspirin or reach this or reach that. Not to say that medication is no good, but to say that sometimes that's a way of our body saying you need a little bit more of a checkup than what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Restless sleep, for example, not getting enough sleep. What do we tell ourselves? Oh, we just didn't sleep very good. Oh, we had a bad night. Oh, I'm so exhausted today because I didn't sleep last night. But those are signs. If you have insomnia, something's going on with your biological clock, meaning something's off, right? So either a stress or something that's coming into your field. So again, those are signs.
And it's funny because if you I've worked with, you know, ill people for a big part of my life. And the one thing I can tell you, even in myself, is that when you have been ill, right? When you are faced with an illness of any kind, once that happens, all of a sudden you are way more in tune with your body. Every little thing that happens after that, every little warning, you don't ignore. But it's sad that we wait for that. It's sad until we have that one experience where we go, oh boy, I just got the diabetes diagnosis, right? But before, they were having thirst, right? They were having frequent urination during the night and always thirsty. The symptoms were there, but they never recognized them, right? They never saw the precursors. But once you've had an illness, all of a sudden, and you recover, I notice everything, right? And if nothing else, I hope today people will learn to, don't ignore those little warning signs. And I hate to sound sexist in any way, shape, or form, but I know when I worked for a family physician, we saw, 45 to 50 patients a day. And to be honest, we very rarely saw a man. Right. We found that the males they're the ones that tend to leave it until they're like really chronically ill, right? Before you see them, right? They seem, and hopefully that's changed. It's been a while since I've been in a physician's office. Maybe that's changing around now, but it was interesting to watch that people seem to, once they've been ill, seem to notice things more frequently than.
Right. That might be the woman sense. I know for me, for example, when I get sick, I'm panicked. And it's because I know my house isn't going to get cleaned. And I know my kids aren't going to get properly fed and watered. And I think
your husband is not a woman.
Yeah. We're trying to do so much that if we're put down, we're wondering what's going to happen if we're down. It's almost like I don't have time to be down. I've used that myself, saying I don't have time to be sick. I think we all have so much hustle bustle these days that we tend to push symptoms down. We know they're a red flag, but we push them down for convenience. And then, later on, we're taking more time off than what we thought. So instead of a couple of days to get that checkup, we're taking 2 weeks off to clear that infection. And it's a big difference. Saying that, okay, I'm going to take a couple of days and fix it and get ahead of it, or I'm going to take 2 weeks off work. And then I'm going to be all panicked and stressed because I don't have pay for 2 weeks, right? So it's avoiding that potential circumstance that maybe you don't even have to go through if you just listen to yourself.
Yeah, so the message today, everybody, from Kim and I, is that you need to start listening. You need to start being more in tune with your bodies. When you're noticing little things, please don't ignore them, because getting something looked at early on is you'll have a much better outcome, right? When things are caught earlier on, you're not going to get so far gone that it's, you can't return. Right. And it's just easier to deal with, even from a practitioner's viewpoint. Right. It's not as hard when you're dealing with somebody whose immune system is now down because of, chemical treatments, things like that. It's very difficult to turn that around. Right. So don't ignore it. Get the help when you need it. Listen to your intuition in all aspects of your life. You are very smart people. You've been given that gift for a reason. So please don't ignore it. I do want to say, Kim, thank you so much for coming on and helping me talk about this today, because this was an important discussion for me. And I'm glad that you were able to help me get through a half an hour on it. I sincerely appreciate it. I just do want to mention our platform, A Different Kind of Better. If you are a wellness practitioner, please go and take a look at it, adifferentkindofbetter.com. It is for wellness practitioners to have an opportunity to teach and educate the world on a global basis about ways you can help others in a different kind of way. That we have to understand that there's lots of ways we can help people get better. And our goal is to teach people as many ways as possible, because the more tools you have in the box, the better it is for you and for hopefully your family or your friends or your loved ones, right? So please go take a look at it. It's a member-based platform. It's roughly, you can get a membership for $20 a year. And which is nothing. It gives you more visibility. Thanks to Karen Ansel McKinnon for helping us get this platform off the ground. She's our IT guru, and runs Speak Up and Empower, another amazing platform. We thank you for being with us tonight. We're looking forward to having our next week's talk is actually somebody who has survived a critical illness and is going to tell you how she did that. So I'm really excited about that. So we'll see you next week live at 5 on A Different Kind of Better. Thanks for joining in. Take care. We love you. Bye for now.